It was very late when they finally arrived, exhausted. They were pleased to find that Charles Cordell had waited up for them. They sat over their supper, talking about what had happened in Paris.
They ran out of prisoners at l'Abbaye and made their way to the Conciergerie, among other places, said Cordell.
There would be no hope for the Marquis, said Sido. It was the first time she had not referred to him as her father. It was a great release. A heavy cloud lifted.
No, I gather his mind had gone. I should think he wouldn't have been aware of what was happening. I am most terribly sorry that you have been through such a dreadful ordeal.
Sido said good night. On the stairs she turned and looked back at Jan. Will you be here tomorrow? He said nothing, just smiled.
Well, said Cordell, I suppose you too are wanting your bed. Shall we talk in the morning?
No, sir. I shall be leaving early for Paris. Could we talk tonight? Jan took out Kaliowski's Book of Tears. Cordell flicked through the pages of names, then looked up, and taking off his glasses, rubbed his temples.
This is beyond anything I thought possible. All these people, and the terrible sums they owe him. You have indeed turned over a stone and found a deadly viper there.
Did you know that Mr. Tull works for him?
Well, no, I didn't. But I'm afraid it doesn't surprise me.
There are people out there making money by double-selling their clients.
You're right, Jan. After today, there will, I believe, be a flood of desperate people who will risk everything to escape from France.
But Tetu and I can help these people. We have the perfect setup in the theatre. No one would suspect what we're up to.
Mr. Laxton and I have been discussing this very matter, said Cordell. You and Tetu, between you, could save a lot of souls. Tell me, before we part, are you sure Kaliowski is dead?
The last time I saw him, he was in the hands of the mob. I'm sure they will have murdered him.
Good, said Cordell. For all our sakes, I hope so.
The two of them shook hands.
Have a safe journey back. I'll be in touch,
said Cordell. That night in the city of the slaughtered, while the massacres still continued, the devil went walking. He could never resist the call of fresh blood, and now there was a rich harvest. He was searching as always for one cursed soul into which to breathe his fiery life. He was not to be disappointed, for lying amongst the broken and the near dead was one citizen Kaliowski with his dog, Balthazar. Kaliowski was raging at his own demise, that he, a gambler, should have been cheated by the Queen of Hearts and her bastard, the Jack of Diamonds. For Anis had had his child, and it was Jan Margoza. The next morning Jan woke early. He had told Cordell he intended to leave before anyone was awake, by which he meant before Sido was up, for he had decided in the carriage that he would not trust himself if he were to see her again. He made his way down to the hotel lobby. Sido stood waiting for him. You were going to leave without saying goodbye, she said. I just didn't want to upset you. You see, I sometimes know what you were thinking, too. If you had done that, I'd never have had the chance to thank you. What she wanted to say, she couldn't. Instead, she said, I wish you didn't have to go back. He took her arm and they walked out into the garden, both lost in their own thoughts. The truth is, said Jan after a while, that if I were to come to London with you, I would find it impossible to say goodbye and return here. But there is so much more that needs to be done. So many people to be saved. He took the shell from around his neck. This was given to me by a gypsy called Tobias Cooper. It is a talisman, a lucky charm. It will keep you safe, and one day I will come back to collect it. I promise. She looked at it carefully. It came from a land she would never know, and yet she understood. Holding it tight, she said, "You must go." Lifting her face up to his, he kissed her. If a promise had a taste, Sido's sweet mouth would be it. It was a kiss that sealed both their fates, interweaving the threads of light that had bound them together since they had first met. Live your life, Sido. Whatever happens, live in the moment. Don't live with regret. And he took his last kiss. She stood there for a long time after he was gone, and thinking he could not hear her, not now, she held the shell to her lips and whispered all that she had felt too shy to tell him. Her words were caught on the breeze, and though she did not know it, they would find him, would travel with him, they would haunt him, and become the magic charm that would one day call him home to her. Our story is over, though in its end lies its beginning.